Hello, my friends. Welcome to Joseys Art School, episode number 205. We're going to continue on a series that we're doing on Georgia O'Keeffe. And what I'd like to do today is I would like to create a scene, a landscape, inspired both by Georgia O'Keeffe, her landscape paintings, and also by the home that was one of her homes in New Mexico. So let me show you a picture. So here is one of the paintings created by Georgia O'Keeffe. Okay. Here is another one. And you see that the water and just, of course, the beautiful colors that are just so inspiring and very much reminiscent of her flower paintings that she's created. And then here is a picture of her home in New Mexico. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to create the two of them together and just basically see what we can create on our own as we are inspired to do so. So right now I have just an oil pastel. It's a black one. It actually is a random one. This is kind of funny. So I teach art in the outdoor environment that I work in, and I happened to pocket it because it was on the ground. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going to use this today. So I'm going to make sure and take it back to work. But for today, I will go ahead and use it. So I'm going to create with this because I really do love painting and using oil pastels with paint. So if you have not done that before, even if you don't have oil pastels on hand, you could also use a crayon and you'd get kind of a sense of what that would be to put the two together. Obviously the oil pastel would be a bit more vibrant, but it's something to just try and see if you like those two being married together. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw a horizon line very similar to what you see, which is kind of insane, right? Like that is her actual horizon line and her home is right in front of it. It's pretty incredible, right? Nature is so incredible. So I'm going to do something very similar to that, where from here, I'm going to add more of that mountaintop figure. That will be the horizon line. Little less traditional what you normally see, right? Because usually in my classes, I will do just a straight line across just to give a sense of above and below. And then from here, I'm going to then add in spaces where I can play with the color in the sky, right? And so once I have that there, I'm going to now put the home in the forefront, just like you see here. And so I'm going to leave some space here where I might put some sort of foliage, bushes, maybe a dust devil of some sort. But this is where I want to kind of create. And what I'm going to do is I'm looking at the picture, so I'll show it to you again. And what I'm seeing is that mostly you're working with rectangles and squares. And so I want to try to mimic that a little bit in the home. Now you can decide to do just one long, stretched out home, or maybe you want to do a little town here. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. A lot of times if you overthink it, it really is where you kind of get killed in the details. So I'm going to start with this rectangle, and I'm actually going to curve it a little bit to give it more of a softer look. This is going to be where I start with it. And again, you can choose to do something shortened like this, almost like the shape of a brick, or you can do something a little more elongated. So you can go straight up like this. And then from here, you can start to get creative with what kind of details you want. So let's say, for example, you want to have a lighting feature here. You can create that, maybe add a window. You can add a second window, or maybe you can do some sort of archway. And already you can see it's starting to take on the nuances of an Adobe home, right? You could also consider doing something like a cactus. So just choose a space where you might want to add a cactus. And of course, my lines are going to overlap. I need them, you know, dark so you can see it on your screen. But of course, you can erase the lines that you want to erase. So I've really made this cactus very prominent in front of the house. Okay. So from there, if you have not drawn a cactus before, you want to add those veins in there now. You don't want to be too precious with it. You don't want really straight lines. You want it to have more of an organic feel. And then you can feel free also, so one of these tricks I've taught the students is to add an X, and then you can make a line coming out of it, and it kind of mimics what you would see as far as the details on the spine of a cactus, right? So again, not getting too terribly precious with it, just kind of randomly placing it where I feel would be a good fit. And as you can see, it's overlapping the mountain, which makes it a little bit more unrealistic, but I am liking for sure how this cactus is coming together. Okay, so you can choose to add a cactus or not. You could make more of your focal point to be the home that you're creating. And so from here, I'm also going to add a little more space to the home. I'm actually going to go up a little bit higher so you can see it behind the cactus. And this might be where my stopping point is. I'm not sure yet. Okay. And then from there, I'm going to build on. So I might want to add some details to this area here, whether it be a long door or maybe a series of windows. So if I keep this as an archway, I need to decide where I want to put an actual doorway to the home. I think I'm going to put it right there. Okay. And so from here, I'm going to play a little bit more with this idea of lighting. So I'm going to add some lighting here, which will look lovely to light the cactus, have it a bit backlit. And then from here, I'm going to add maybe another archway. So maybe add that here. So here's the top of the archway from there. And then I can kind of look back. So this might be something you want to do as well. Pick up your paper and put it in front of you and see what it looks like to your eye. So as I'm looking at this on the wall, which is a nice way for it to kind of take it in and see what I think, I'm going to add lines here. I'm going to go with that idea of an archway. And then I'm going to add some windows here or some lighting here. And then maybe just a little more detail right here. All right, so that's my basic shape of my home. I think I want to bring it over a little bit more so it doesn't feel so lopsided over here. So curving this out here rather than making a straight box shape. And then you can decide from there what you want to do. Maybe this is the place I want to add maybe something on top. Maybe a little smoker area here. Okay, so this is my basic shape here. Again, as I add over there, I'm like, oh, maybe I need to add over here too. Maybe from here, I'll just maybe add some greenery. Okay, so from here is my basic shape, and then I'm going to start to add random greenery, maybe some sort of movement here for the dust devils that you can see in the desert. Maybe a little bit of an animal. We could put an animal here. I'm going to add a rabbit. That's my favorite. Just have him here. Okay. Feel free to add what you'd like. Maybe just a little pathway here for the rabbit to be on. All right, so this is my basic drawing. And then from here, as I say, I would go back through and I would, any of the lines that are overlapping, I would make sure and erase them off, right? All right, so now that I have that here, you can go in a number of different directions. You can use watercolor paint, crayons, oil pastels, markers, colored pencils. I'm gonna use a combination of both. Excuse me as I go off screen a minute. I'm going to get my palette here, and I'm going to use a couple of different colors, and I think I'm going to blend in some oil pastels as well. So I'm going to start with a Laguna, the Apple Barrel brand. It's been one of my favorites lately. And then I'm going to add some, let's see, this says khaki. So again, very desert-like. And there are times where I get very colorful, and then there are times where I really do try to limit my color palette because, you know, sometimes less is more. You've heard that before. That's also true in painting. All right, so I've got the Laguna. I've got one of my favorites right now, which is called Sage Green. And then I'm also using that khaki, and then I think I'm going to add a little bit of white. And I'm trying to figure out what I'll do with the mountains. I think I'm going to just use your oil pastel for that. So I'm going to start to add that in right now, just to give it a sense of color, kind of ground where I want to start with this, right? Not be afraid, just get on in there. Okay, so there's my color for the mountain, right? Okay. So then from there, I'm going to leave that for now. I'll probably go back in and fill it a little bit more with color, but I'm going to start now with just, again, not being too terribly precious about the color choices, but just adding it in and letting the paint, what I like to call, play with the paper. So you'll see, if you've ever done any sort of working with clay, if you go to those pottery painting places, you see these really vibrant colors after you fire it in the kiln. But then when you're starting to paint, it really doesn't show you what it's going to look like once it's fired in that under those extreme temperatures. And so you kind of have to go by faith, right? And just trust that the person who's guiding you through the painting process knows where the end is, and that it's going to be a good result. Have you ever done that before, where you go and you do those the painting place, and they tell you you've got to paint it 3 times, and you've got to do light before dark, and all these things, and you're just hoping, okay, how many times did I paint that? Did I paint that enough times? So it becomes a bit nerve-wracking, and then of course you've got to wait the 3 to 5 days to finally see it, and then the only way you find out how it went is to go pick it up, right? So it's kind of a little bit like that, not as stressful, I would say. Yeah, so basically what I'm doing is I'm kind of going in where my outline is for the house, and I'm just adding in this khaki color, right? So just putting that in there. Again, giving it a sense of where I want the basic parts of the house to show up. And then from here, I'm actually going to keep a little of the khaki in my paintbrush. And I'm going to come up here because I do like the idea of like having a color that is streaming throughout the painting. And I do feel like in some way it kind of brings it all together, that everywhere you look, you know that there's a little essence of that color all over the painting. So this is that Laguna, and I'm adding a little bit of the khaki into it. Trying to be mindful that I do want a feel of like the sun, or excuse me, the sky changing colors a bit. Okay. So now that I've had that, now I'm going to dip into the white. Again, leaving now some of the Laguna on there. And just letting the two of those play together. I think what I love about doing this channel is that it really does give you the opportunity to kind of paint with a friend and paint in a way that's not too terribly perfectionist, but at the same time gives you some sort of structure that you can be inspired to create your own drawing. At least that's what I'm hoping I'm giving you here. Okay, so now I'm just taking the white, I'm just kind of adding it in different directions. Again, not being too particular about getting every single area painted. But again, just giving it some sort of flow so that when I go to the next part of the painting, I've kind of left some sort of imprint, you know, so that there is kind of a movement as I go along. All right, so next I'm going to use that lovely sage green, and I'm going to put it in here with the cactus. So basically covering all that great work I just drew in there, but that's okay. Because again, I'm going to let some of that show because I just like the look of that. That's kind of my signature with the paintings that I do. And my paintings are available for sale on Instagram and Pinterest and Amazon and Facebook. So if you're interested in any of these paintings, they are available there once I'm finished painting. Okay. So there we go. And again, using that same theory that I've been using throughout this painting process, I want to add a bit of a blue. So again, it doesn't feel like blue sky, green cactus, brown Adobe home. I really want there to be kind of a sense of it throughout the painting. Okay. All right, and this is one of those things I should have mentioned also before, is that what you want to do is you're going to come back through. So you're working all around the page, right, as you're painting. And then you're going to come back through and you're going to add some details, again, to give it a little bit of cohesion. But there is always this process when you're painting, you guys, called the ugly stage, where you will have a sense that you've done it all wrong and you've picked all the wrong colors and you just don't love it and you want to throw it away and no one needs to see this painting. And let's never talk about it, right? You know, I'm hearing this song from not to be named mentioned popular show right now about how we don't talk about, I won't say his name, but yeah, sometimes you get that feeling of like, oh, I could have done that a little bit better and I'll just try again later. And I would encourage you that rather than throw it away, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Let it sit for a bit. Let the painting marinate. Let the colors on your page actually work with the paper. There is some sort of magic to that. I can't explain it. I'm sure someone can tell me in the comments what is happening when the painting just sits. But it allows it to breathe, and it really does allow it to come to life. Because even now, as I'm looking at that sky, I mean, could I really like figured that out on my own? Look at how incredible that sky is coming together. And it's all from me not getting too terribly perfectionist with it, right? Because this is how the sky looks when we see it, not this, well, I shouldn't say that. There are times when you look at it, it's this perfect blue color and all that kind of stuff. So I won't say that, but it doesn't always have to be that way. Let's do that. Let's say that. Okay, now I want to also add, again, some brown in here to kind of bring that purple in a bit more to the story that's going on. Okay, so from here, again, I want to use the green, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, say a little bit of this yellow. So this is called King's Gold. It's another one of my favorites. I think I'm going to add that to the mix and see what comes together with that. I'm going to add that with my green. I'm going to just bring it down into this area here. Kind of remembered it that I have a bunny there that I need to add back into the situation. Okay. And again, I don't want it too matchy, so I'm just going to bring it in a little bit, bring it up in front of the Adobe home, because again, we want to assume that this is a desert landscape. And so we want to add some of the foliage you would see if you would go to someone's home, right? So I'm getting to that point now where I'm like, I'm not sure where I want to go with it. Do I want to add some yellow to the sky? Again, going back to that place of like desiring to make sure that there's no spot that just looks like one color, but that it's all cohesively coming together somehow. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend some of the yellow with the khaki color and maybe add that to the doors and the windows. Okay, and again, I encourage you to experiment. Like if you put the color on there and you don't like it, just paint over the top. And also, do not be afraid to just leave it white. And I will say, what I like to do is if I've made that decision to leave it white, I will actually use white paint and fill it in with white. I won't just leave it as white paper. Because again, I feel like that kind of helps bring the cohesion that you're looking for to the painting when you do that. So here I'm adding a little bit of that King's Gold, again with the white. And I will go over this again with my oil pastel. But again, starting to add in where I wanted to have that backlit feel behind the cactus. Okay. Muting out a little bit of that line for the oil pastel so that I can reimagine it once it starts to dry. Okay. Now maybe you're thinking also to add a little bit of black paint to the mix, and that is a great idea. So if you want to just try that and see what it looks like, feel free to do that. And I'm making this gold a little lighter color. Okay. All right, so it's coming together, right? I hope you feel the same way about yours. I'm going to go ahead and add a little more color to this background here. Kind of smearing it with my paintbrush. Adding a little bit actually of the turquoise in there as well, because again, going back to what we've been discussing, you want to make sure that there's just not this one area that you're holding this color, because what will happen is it really does stand out to your eye. And unless you want that to happen, what you really want to do is you want to have some sort of harmony with what you've created on the page. And so this is one of those times where if you haven't just taken a walk and just looked at nature, it's not super perfect. colors aren't super perfect. I mean, they're perfect, I guess, in the sense that it's the cohesion of, oh, of course, that's, you know, what nature looks like today with this, you know, level of sunlight or dusk or that sort of thing. But you've got to be careful, like, to also look at the nuances of this. I actually was thinking about this. We went to an aquarium a while back and we were looking at all these different kinds of fish. And it's like every color under the sun, every sort of like shape of head and size and all this kind of stuff. And it's like so many times we kind of, you know, get on our kids about, oh, that's not what that looks like. And it's like, well, maybe we just haven't seen it in nature, but maybe it's out there, you know? We just haven't discovered it yet, or we just haven't been to the location where that fish or, you know, looks like how that child has painted it. And again, that's why I love and am very much inspired by kids' paintings, because they bring things into the mix that you just never would think about bringing in as an adult, because you've just been told this is how this looks, and you know, these colors go together, and this is how a head looks, and you know. And just reminds you that, you know, unless you were told that, you actually don't officially know that's so, right? All right, so this is coming up a little bit, but you get where I'm going with this. All right, so from here, I need to still paint my sweet little rabbit. I think I'm going to use this coral color for the rabbit. We'll see. Again, just going to try it. Let's just try it. I'm probably going to get a smaller paintbrush. Also think I'm going to add a little bit. I'm going to use my colored pencil here in my mountain scene. See how that comes together. Okay, so there's my little rabbit right there. I want to make sure he is definitely a part of the situation. And again, I want to add what is going on with him a little bit into the painting, just so even if you can't see it, you have a sense of it. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like you can tell when you've made those thoughtful choices. Okay, so from here, I'm going to now color in a little bit more of the mountain using my colored pencil. To be honest with you, I'm not that big a fan of colored pencils. I don't know why, but here's what I do know. I know that when I've learned to love other mediums, like for example, the watercolor paints, what has changed the way I feel about it is a good quality material. And I'm thinking maybe I just haven't gotten the right brand of colored pencils. So feel free to leave me a message in the comments, your go-to colored pencils if you're a super fan of a colored pencil. And I'd be happy to check it out. But for right now, I'm just liking it because it's purple. It's a lighter purple, so I feel like it's going to blend it together a little well. Actually, I think I'm going to use like a blending tool because of the oil pastel and blend it in a bit more. Okay. All right, as you can see, that's really starting to come together. So I'm going to, this is my blending tool. I'll usually use something like this, a Q-tip, or I will use even like an eraser and just kind of come through. Just allow it to come together more, as you can see. Just moving it around on the paper. Okay, and again, you see my technique. I'm kind of trying to blend that purple down a little bit more so it falls a little bit onto the home. Okay. I think I'm going to take the remnants of it and rub it through. Secret weapon here, an eraser. All right, so now I'm going to take this oil pastel. I'm going to come back through again. Again, just adding a little more detail, maybe bringing in this cactus a little more. Okay, maybe bringing in the spine a little more. And now also maybe bringing in the outline of the home a little more. And then honestly, I'm going to let it dry and see what it looks like at the end of all this. How's yours going on the other end there? I would love to see what you created, so make sure and tag me on Instagram or on Facebook if you get a chance and you want to show me what you've been doing. I would love to see it. All right, so then from there, I feel like I am ready to call this done. Maybe add a little bit of details to the rabbit, little sweetheart. All right, you guys. Well, there you have it. That is my version of Georgia Okeefe's home. Here is her actual home in New Mexico. Thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure and like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I do actually 3 videos every week, and I love to share what it is that I'm doing. Yeah, get me to 1,000 subscribers, you guys, okay? All right, thank you so much for stopping by. I have art kits, I have art journal kits, I have sewing kits. Everything's down in the description, so check it out, and I will see you here next time. All right, bye-bye.